welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm using this large stamp set called All the Sparkles. It's coordinating die, a happy birthday die cut, and the magnificent bloom stamp set. And that one, I'm just going to use the sentiment from that. But the hero or the main part of this card, or the main attraction of this card, is the gemstone stamp here, which is called All the Sparkle, and it is a layering stamp set. So I'm going to just show you one of the gemstones that I'm going to stamp on the video. I did go ahead and stamp multiple gemstones, but I just wanted to show you how these gemstones layer so easily. So we'll start off with this gemstone, which looks like a diamond here. Of course, I'm not coloring it as a diamond. I'm doing it more like an emerald green. I don't know if it's emerald green or what, I don't know, but it's an aqua shade. So here I'm just going to stamp that, the first solid one, with the lightest of the aqua colors that I have chosen. Then I'm going to take the second layer. Now that each of those layers have numbers. So this one here has, I think it's D1, D2, D3, D4. So the D2, that is the second layer of this diamond, and I'm going to place it. And when you place it in the back of that card of stamp set paper or packaging, there is an instruction as to how you're going to layer these stamps, and it's so easy, believe me. It's really easy to layer these stamps. And now I'm going to take the D3 here, and you can see that there is a red line, which shows, that means to say the edge of this one has to line with the stamped image. So you can see I'm showing you where you're going to line that. And I'm just going to put that in its place, and then I'm going to stamp that with the next layering color in this aqua shade. By the way, these mini cubes is the ALTENEW color cubes, which comes in a pack of all the colors together, so you don't have to do a lot of thinking as to what goes with what. And especially with layering stamps like this, it's so helpful to have these colors already pre-packaged in the color combinations for you. So now for the last and final layer, you can see I just showed that the two edges on the sides have to mark up with the base layer that you've already stamped, and that's what the picture showed as well. And then I'm going to just stamp that using the darkest of the color, and you can see how beautifully that gemstone has built up. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this coordinating die cut here, and I'm going to die cut that on my cutting machine. And here I have gone ahead and stamped all different kinds of gemstones and different shades of blues and purples and aquas. And then I'm going to add some glitter to use, glitter on this. So for this, I'm just using this glitter spray. It's called Glitter Dust. I got it from Amazon I think it's about 2 years now that I've had it. And I'm just going to put it on inside a cardboard here, and I'm just going to spray it pretty well so that it just gets that beautiful sheen on it. I do have a window in my craft room, so it's popped open. Make sure when you're using any kind of spray adhesive, you are doing it in an open area. And you can see here how beautifully that sparkles. I don't know if the video really captures, but trust me, it does sparkle so beautifully. That spray has a little bit of tackiness, so you have to set it aside to dry. So while that is drying, let's create the background. I'm going to create I really love the way this background turned out. So I'm just taking this acetate here. It has a backing paper on it just to protect it, and that's why it's white, but actually it's a clear acetate. And I'm going to rub the surface of that acetate using the sandpaper. You don't want a very thick grit, a very soft grit paper. And I'm going to remove that sheen from the top layer, and then you're going to take a flat brush and a napkin on the side, and I'm going to take some acrylic paint. Here I'm taking a gold acrylic paint, and I'm just going to brush a few little like random strokes of the gold paint in the center of this acetate. And I'm just going to heat set this. So it dries pretty fast because the layer was pretty thin and I didn't add any water to it. So it just did dry very fast. And then I'm taking this another acrylic paint that I have here. This is a darker shade of almost like an emerald green. And I'm going to layer that on top of this gold acrylic that we did earlier. That's why it's important for that gold to completely dry. If I were to do it, I will keep it let it dry, air dry it, but because for the video's sake I just did use my heat gun. Now the acetate that I'm using is actually an embossable acetate. It's very important for you to use that, because when you're using your heat gun, it does not warp the acetate, one, and two, usually embossable acetates are a little more thicker, on the thicker side, and it really works well with this technique. And here you can see after I added that emerald layer, I heat set it again, and I'm adding another layer of that same paint, and really thick this time. Now I'm not going to heat set this, I'm going to let it air dry, and I'm just going to put this aside. Just be very careful when you pick it up, and you can see how that gold traps in the front, and I'm just going to leave this to air dry. Now before I started the video, I did make another one, and this one is all dry and nice, and you can see how beautiful that gold looks inside that acetate, or behind, or in front of the green emerald paint. And then I also took this happy birthday die cut, and I die cut it with white, and the additional sentiment is from that magnificent bloom stem set, and the sentiment reads sending happy thoughts for your birthday. I'm adding for your birthday, it's not there, but I'm just saying it's happy birthday, sending happy thoughts. Anyway, so now all I'm got left to do is to place these gemstones around it. I am hoping that the recipient who receives this card feels really happy about her or his birthday. Plus, who's never happy about knowing you're surrounded by gemstones, right? So anyway, I hope my thought process makes sense there. I don't really know. Anyway, here I'm just kind of playing around and figuring out what composition works really well in order to place these gemstones. And once I'm satisfied, I'm going to adhere it. And you can see here, I was about to start adhering this gemstones, which you'll see in a minute here. I just started to do that, and then I realized, oh no, I need to first adhere the sentiments down before I can adhere these gemstones. So for the sentiment, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add some liquid adhesive, and I'm going to tap the excessive liquid adhesive on paper so that the glue or the liquid adhesive doesn't ooze out. And because this is acetate, it can show marks, but this adhesive is pretty clear. It dries very clear, so I wasn't too worried about it, but I just didn't want to take that risk. So I just kind of added that glue, and I tapped it, and then I adhered it to my surface. And you can see here, I'm just putting that right underneath, and here I realized I needed to change it. So all that glue not getting adhered, not visible, kind of went down the drain, because you could still see the glue. But once the glue dried, you could really not see any glue spots anywhere. And so now, after I was done adding the sentiment, I started to adhere the gemstones. So some I popped using foam adhesives, and some I used a liquid adhesive. And here I suddenly thought, why is there such a big gap when I initially placed my gemstones that wasn't so big? And then I realized, oh, my additional sentiment. So that was the reason why there was a big gap there. Anyway, so for my additional sentiment, I just added some foam adhesive on it, a thin strip, and then I added it underneath that birthday, and then I started placing the gemstones again, and now I think I was good to go. Just the craziness of stamping and card making, I suppose. Anyway, so I'm just adhering these gemstones all around in a pattern. Not really, it's very random. I'm trying to see where I find a gap, and I also want to make sure that I'm adding clusters of 3s and 2s and 1s, just to kind of make it cohesive, kind of make the composition look appealing to your eye. So anyway, here I'm just adhering the last bit of the gemstone, and once I was done, I realized I did not add the tittle on the eye. So I had the tittle in my tray, so I just went ahead and added that little dot on top of the eye. And then I took this acrylic paint pen. This is the POSCA white paint pen, and I'm going to add a few white dots all over around the gemstones, as well as a few really tiny dots inside the gemstones, just to add that additional sparkle. When the light hits the gemstone, you'll see those white sparkles. So that's what I was trying to go with this white white paint pen. And as I'm adding this, I'm also making sure that I don't get my hand on it, because it takes a while for the paint pen to dry, so be careful about that on the acrylic. And then I'm going to take this gemstone from Crafty Meraki as well, and then I'm going to just add it around the gemstones in a scattering. And I just wanted to place my gemstones first where I thought it would look nice, and once I was happy with it, I went ahead and added liquid adhesive and adhered them down for good. So that's one of the things, when I'm not sure how I want those gemstones, I like to place them first and then adhere them, and you can see all that sparkle. I sometimes feel like videos don't do justice. Here's an additional step you can do. You can add some glossy accent onto these gemstones to give that sparkle. I did one earlier on one of those gemstones, and you can see how beautifully it sparkled, but I'm not going to do it for this card for now, because it takes a while for it to dry. So I'm not going to do that right now, but if you would, it's going to add so much more detail to that gem. And because I've added that paint, the green paint, this acetate is pretty much opaque, so you can go ahead and add adhesive to the back of it and it's not going to be seen. Now, I did not want to add the adhesive behind the acetate because my gemstones and everything, the glue was still wet, the paint was still wet, and I didn't want to smudge it, and that's the reason why I added the adhesive directly to the white note card. And all I'm going to do now is adhere that into the center of that note card, and that pretty much completed this card. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and very soon we'll see the closer look, and here's a closer look of the card, and you'll give this background technique a go and this set a go. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.